Hi there. Welcome back to my ongoing series, now 5 years and counting, where I highlight a different goddess from around the world, a different representation, archetype of the divine feminine that have such relevance for us today, whether you, regardless of what your gender is. and if you want to know more about that, this always goes up on my YouTube channel on Thursdays. There's a little eye in the corner that talks about why I'm so passionate about bringing the qualities, bringing the wisdom and the power of the divine feminine back into the world, because it's coming back slowly. Let's hope it keeps going. So this week, I'm not doing as many as I did when I first started. I was doing these every week when I started doing these of August of 2020. And I just look for sometimes I look for goddess feast days from anywhere in the world. Sometimes it's just a seasonal thing, or it's a festival or a theme, whatever. The one that I found, and boy, as so happens often, I learned something very much that this is certainly one I didn't know, but I also learned about one of the reasons she's so well known, and that is Nokomis. She is the Algonquin goddess. She's a creation goddess and I've highlighted many creation goddesses from around the world here. From the Algonquin, Ojibwe in particular, Native American tribe, nation, and there are lots of variations of her story. Probably the most well-known one, and I'll read you excerpts from it and you'll see how beautifully she's captured, was in Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem, The Song of Hiawatha. So stay tuned for a little bit more about that. She is considered the goddess of the moon and of the earth, represented by corn in particular. And she is the one in that tradition, and she actually shows up in several different Native American traditions and mythologies, but she is the one that provides sustenance for humankind. And she is always there when there is a need. If there is enough food, when people are hungry, she provides food. And if there's no food anywhere to be found, she offers up her own spirit in the form of corn for people to imbibe her and continue the cycle of life. So her themes really are prosperity. She is a harvest goddess, which is one of the reasons I picked her for this time of year as we head into the fall months. As I often say, though, here, whether the goddesses that I'm highlighting here, if they are attached to a particular time of year, just know, obviously, I hope you understand that you can call on them whenever you have a particular need, or just feel a resonance with them. It doesn't matter the time of year. It doesn't matter what your cultural tradition is. These are all deeply held archetypes, deeply held representations in our collective unconscious of all of these different themes. In her case, her themes are luck, which is interesting, and Providence, probably because of the fact that she, when you call on her in time of need, particularly when you need food, but prosperity is a big one for her, then she is there for you. So one of the versions and probably the main version of her myth, and the one that was picked up in the Song of Hiawatha, is that she was a young girl. She was a love goddess, and she fell from the heavens into the primordial ocean and became pregnant. And soon as she grew, she became as big as the earth itself. So that's her earthiness connection. And when she fell into the primordial ocean, she gave birth. She became pregnant. She gave birth to a daughter, and I'll have to keep looking to make sure I can. She doesn't have a difficult name, but Wenonah was the name of her daughter. And at some point, as Wenonah is growing into a young woman, she allows herself to be seduced by, and this is where I'll need some help, Mudjekeewis, who is the spirit of the west wind. And Nokomis warns her, says this is not a good idea. Couldn't find out why she didn't think it was a good idea, but it turned out not to be, because the Mudjekeewis, abandons her, and then Wenonah dies while giving birth to her son. So Nokomis steps in, and she raises and educates her grandson, who becomes a very leading person in many different traditions. His name is Nanabozho or Nanabuzzi is another interpretation I read, and he's a trickster god and a hero in many different myths and stories. Which, check him out. I'll make sure that his spelling is in any of the different descriptions here on Facebook, or else in my YouTube description, because he's a pretty fascinating god to begin with. But this is about Nokomis and her many different origin stories. And in she's one of the other ways that she's honored is by the Iroquois as well, and she's known as Ethanoha. And with that one, Ethanoha, in that myth, Ethanoha rules the earth and its produce, and she creates food, which is just what Nokomis is about. She has a daughter, Oniata, who I actually highlighted sometime last year. I think it was in March of 2024, because her daughter was so beautiful. This Iroquois representation of Nokomis. Her daughter was so beautiful that in one story she gets abducted by a god, and she's saved by the sun, who finds her and brings her back to the surface. And in another version, she's so lovely that all the men run after her, and their wives are very upset. And Oniata says, I don't want this attention, and I'm not calling on it. And she to ensure that the men return to their families, she leaves the earth, leaving behind wild spring flowers. And again, if you want to know more about Onata, who is the daughter of the Iroquois version of Nokomis, you can go back and look at my YouTube story, my YouTube video from March of 2024. So I could give you a bunch of other ones, but there are a lot of, all I'll end up doing is not pronouncing names directly, but I will tell you that the Menominee tribe, which is part of the Algonquin nation, describes Nokomis as a grandmother of a trickster rabbit. That's another version. In another story, her daughter becomes pregnant by the wind again while gathering wild potatoes, and a wolf results from that. So she's very prevalent in these creation myths, and very much is always the grandmother, the wise woman, the elder who raises a grandson or a wolf or a rabbit, whatever the case may be. Let's see. So let me read for you some of the pieces from the Song of Hiawatha. The telling of, according to the poem, so when she bears a daughter, Wenonah, from the poem says, from the full moon fell the beautiful Nokomis. That's in the Song of Hiawatha. And then she allows herself to be seduced by the west wind. And that reads, till she bore a son in sorrow, bore a son of love and sorrow. Thus was born my Hiawatha. And then this will be more familiar to you. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's basic retelling of the story of Nokomis and Nanabozho's birth. By the shores of Gitchigumi, by the shining big seawater, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them, bright before it beat the water. Beat the clear and sunny water. Beat the shining, big sea water. So, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've read any of the Native American ones that were so memorialized in a very well-known American poet's work. So that was kind of an interesting discovery for me. And what I thought I would do, the chant that feels quite lovely to share, is one that I probably did about a year ago. It's a great one to do with earth goddesses or with harvest time, which is what this is. And this is a good one. It's earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit, because it incorporates so much of her story. Earth my body, she is the earth mother, becomes the earth actually. Water my blood is when she drops into the primordial ocean, becomes pregnant. Air my breath, her daughter Wenonah's, these are not familiar. No, I was right. Wenonah. Her daughter Wenonah becomes pregnant through the west wind god. Fire my spirit. That's just spirit. So that chant, and if you want to sing it along with me, I always sing it once and then we'll sing it a couple times. Goes like this. Oh, and it's got hand movements too, which is really fun. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. Earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. So, take that with you as you move through the fall tide. Fall equinox is not here until September 22nd, and I've got a couple different fall equinox things happening. But call on her when you have things to harvest yourself, or if you need sustenance, and if you are looking for prosperity, and if you just want to tap into some loving, nurturing grandmother wisdom. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye.